The massive digital billboard spanning the facade of San Francisco's Market Street luxury mall froze for a split second, then flickered to life with a message that made pedestrians stop mid-stride: denied, insufficient cultural relevance score. Diana Pearson watched in horror as the mall's new AI-powered admission system publicly rejected a middle-aged woman, the humiliating verdict displayed for all to witness. The woman's face crumpled as security guards approached to escort her away from ELYSIUM, the high-end retail experience that Diana had spent 3 years of her life creating. "This is not what I designed," Diana whispered, her phone already vibrating with notifications from the PR team. The spring air felt unusually cold as Diana pushed through the revolving doors into ELYSIUM's soaring marble atrium. At 34, she had become the youngest chief innovation officer in luxury retail by reimagining how technology could enhance exclusivity. The crystal chandeliers caught light in fractured patterns across her face as she made her way past storefronts housing the world's most coveted brands. Her heels clicked against the polished floor, each step a countdown to what she knew would be an emergency board meeting. Inside the glass-walled conference room on the penthouse level, Ian Abernathy was already waiting, his tall frame silhouetted against the panoramic view of the bay. At 42, the CEO of ELYSIUM had the easy confidence that came from old money and new success. His steel blue eyes barely acknowledged Diana as she entered. "So much for your little experiment," he said, sliding a tablet across the table. "Social media's exploding. Luxury retail chain uses AI to discriminate. ELYSIUM's digital doorman humiliates customers. Take your pick." Diana took a deep breath. The system wasn't supposed to display rejection reasons publicly. That's a clear violation of our privacy protocols. Yet here we are. Ian's voice remained level, but the edge was unmistakable. "Your access system was supposed to democratize luxury, remember? Not just for those with money, but for those who truly appreciate craftsmanship and culture." He mimicked her pitch with unsettling accuracy. "The board bought your vision that an AI could identify passion and taste more objectively than human prejudice. Instead, we've created a digital bouncer that's more elitist than the old human ones." The access system, algorithmic cultural and consumer engagement scoring system, had been Diana's brainchild. A sophisticated AI trained on decades of cultural data, purchasing patterns, and social influence metrics to determine who would be granted entry to ELYSIUM's most exclusive spaces and experiences. It was designed to move beyond traditional wealth indicators, to recognize passion, taste, and cultural contribution. "It's just a calibration issue," Diana insisted, though doubt had been gnawing at her for weeks. "The system is still learning. We need to fix it by the end of the week," Ian cut her off, "or the board shuts it down." As Ian left, Diana remained seated, staring at the tablet. The woman publicly rejected had been Professor Elaine Chen, a respected art historian with modest means but immense cultural knowledge. Exactly the type of person Access was supposed to recognize. "Something's wrong with the core algorithm," she murmured. Diana's assistant, Marcus, appeared at the door. "Your 2 p.m. is here." The journalist. Diana had forgotten about the interview, a feature on women disrupting luxury retail for Vogue. Perfect timing. Journalist Oliver West was younger than Diana expected, perhaps 30, with an earnest intensity that immediately put her on edge. His first question cut to the chase: "So, ELYSIUM's new AI doorman publicly shamed a distinguished professor today. Care to comment on whether that's the future of luxury you envisioned?" Diana maintained her professional smile. "What you witnessed was a technical error, not the system's intended function. Access was designed to be more inclusive, not less." Oliver's eyebrow lifted skeptically. "Inclusive within carefully defined parameters of what constitutes cultural value, determined by proprietary algorithms no one can examine. Some might call that a new form of digital redlining." "That's absurdly reductive," Diana countered, leaning forward. "The traditional luxury model was built on financial barriers alone. Access considers passion, knowledge, and authentic engagement with culture. We're trying to recognize merit beyond wealth. By creating an artificial intelligence that decides who deserves beautiful things. Oliver asked. Who programmed those values? The question lingered in Diana's mind long after the interview ended. The original algorithm had been developed by a team led by Dr. Vincent Mercer, a brilliant but reclusive data scientist who had left the company 6 months earlier under circumstances Diana had never fully understood. That evening, Diana bypassed the main entrance to her Marina District apartment building, opting instead for the service entrance that led directly to the private elevator. Her penthouse felt both welcoming and empty, floor-to-ceiling windows capturing the twilight dance of city lights across the bay. She kicked off her heels, poured a glass of Cabernet, and settled on her white leather sofa. "Home system, activate privacy mode," she commanded. "Privacy mode engaged," responded the apartment's AI assistant. Diana opened her secure work terminal and began digging through the access code base. She had been part of the conceptual design but hadn't reviewed the technical implementation in detail. Hours passed as she navigated through the algorithmic architecture, growing increasingly troubled by what she found. The system's decision-making process had been subtly altered. Where the original design weighted cultural knowledge, passion, and taste as primary factors, the current system emphasized social media influence, celebrity connections, and spending history. Most disturbing was a hidden weighting system tied to demographic data the company had publicly promised never to use. "Who authorized these changes?" she whispered to her empty apartment. A notification lit up her screen, an incoming call from Dominic Park, ELYSIUM's Chief Technology Officer. Diana hesitated before accepting. Dominic's face appeared, framed by the stark minimalism of his home office. At 45, he retained the intensity of the programmer he had been before climbing the corporate ladder, his angular features accentuated by the blue light of multiple monitors. "You're in the access code base," he stated flatly. After hours. Diana straightened. "I'm the project lead, Dominic. And something's very wrong with the implementation." "The board authorized optimizations to improve business outcomes," he replied, his expression unreadable. "The original algorithm was too idealistic. We needed to ensure our most valuable customers would never be rejected. By secretly encoding bias into a system marketed as its opposite? That's not optimization, it's corruption." Dominic's eyes narrowed. "Be careful, Diana. You've been given considerable latitude because Ian respects your vision, but there are practical realities to running a luxury business. Not everything can be as pure as your ideals." After Dominic hung up, Diana sat in silence, the city lights blurring through unshed tears of frustration. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "The access corruption goes deeper than you think. Vincent didn't leave voluntarily. If you want the truth, meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Ferry Building, blue bench facing the bay." Sleep eluded Diana that night. By morning, she had made her decision. She dressed carefully in a charcoal pantsuit, her armor for the day ahead. The April morning was crisp and clear as she walked along the Embarcadero toward the Ferry Building, the familiar scent of saltwater and coffee filling the air. A woman sat alone on the blue bench, her gaze fixed on the water. She appeared to be in her late 30s, with cropped auburn hair and the focused intensity of someone who worked with complex systems. As Diana approached, the woman nodded slightly. "I'm Lucia Martinez," she said without preamble. "I was on Vincent's original access development team." Diana sat beside her. "What happened to Vincent?" "He discovered that someone had inserted a backdoor into the access system, a way to manually override rejections for select individuals, regardless of their score." Lucia kept her voice low. "When he threatened to expose it, things got ugly. They buried him under legal threats and a fabricated ethics violation." "Why are you telling me this?" Lucia turned to face Diana directly. "Because yesterday happened. Because the system we built to democratize luxury has become its opposite. And because Vincent trusted you, even when I told him you were too close to the executive team to help." The implication stung. "I didn't know." "Now you do." Lucia handed Diana a small data drive. Vincent's original code, plus documentation of the changes and who authorized them. What you do with it is your choice. Back at ELYSIUM headquarters, Diana found Ian waiting in her office, his casual posture belied by the tension in his jaw. "Dominic tells me you've been investigating unauthorized changes to access," he said. "Careful, Diana. Intellectual curiosity has its place, but this borders on insubordination." Diana measured her response. "The system is compromised, Ian. Someone has fundamentally altered its purpose without proper authorization or disclosure. The board authorized necessary adjustments to protect our business interests," Ian replied smoothly. "Sometimes idealism needs to be tempered with pragmatism." "Did the board also authorize the hidden backdoor that lets certain individuals bypass the system entirely?" Diana watched Ian's expression carefully. "Or the demographic weighting that our privacy policy explicitly prohibits?" A flicker of something, or surprise? Concern? Crossed Ian's face before his professional mask returned. "You're treading in deep waters, Diana. The technology works. Our quarterly numbers are spectacular. At what cost? We're selling a lie." Diana fought to keep her voice steady. Access was supposed to recognize authentic passion for craft and culture. Instead, we've built a system that reinforces every existing bias while pretending to transcend them. Ian's smile never reached his eyes. "Your idealism is what makes you valuable, Diana. But don't let it blind you to how the world actually works. Luxury has always been about exclusion, we've just made the process more efficient." After Ian left, Diana inserted Vincent's data drive and began methodically comparing the original code with the current system. The changes were extensive and deliberate, creating a facade of meritocratic assessment while encoding preferences for youth, conventional beauty, social media follow accounts, and traditional status markers. Most troubling was evidence that the system had been programmed to occasionally reject qualified but less conventionally appealing candidates in public, humiliating displays designed to reinforce ELYSIUM's exclusivity. Diana's phone buzzed with a text from Oliver, the journalist. "Something big just leaked about Access. I'm writing the story now. Any comment?" Before she could respond, her office door swung open and Dominic entered, his usual composure fractured by evident anger. "There's been a data breach," he announced. "Someone has leaked internal documents about Access to the press." "Did you do this?" "No," Diana answered truthfully. "But I'm not surprised it happened." Dominic stepped closer. "This could destroy the company, Diana. Years of work, thousands of jobs. Maybe the company deserves scrutiny if we're willing to lie to the public about how our technology works." The crisis escalated rapidly. By evening, major tech and business publications were running exposés on ELYSIUM's discriminatory algorithm. The stock price plummeted. Diana was summoned to an emergency board meeting where she found herself isolated at one end of the long table, facing grim-faced executives. Board Chair Eleanor Vaughan, a formidable figure in her 60s with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, spoke first. "Ms. Pearson, the board has reviewed preliminary evidence suggesting you were involved in unauthorized access of proprietary systems and may have contributed to today's damaging leaks." "I access systems I was authorized to review as Chief Innovation Officer," Diana replied evenly. "I did not leak any information. But I did discover that Access has been corrupted from its original purpose, and I believe the board should be aware of the ethical and legal implications." Ian's expression remained impassive as Eleanor continued. "Mr. Abernathy informs us that you've developed some ideological concerns about necessary business optimizations to the Access platform. If by ideological concerns you mean objections to secretly encoding bias into a system marketed as its opposite, then yes," Diana said, sliding copies of her findings across the table. "These modifications violate our public statements, our privacy policy, and possibly federal regulations on algorithmic discrimination." The room fell silent as board members reviewed the documents. Diana noticed Eleanor and Ian exchange a glance. "This is deeply troubling," said Thomas Chen, the newest board member. "If accurate, these modifications directly contradict our public commitments." Eleanor's lips thinned. "We'll need time to verify these allegations. In the meantime, Ms. Pearson, you're suspended pending an internal investigation." Security escorted Diana from the building, her access badges deactivated. Outside, the evening air felt stifling despite the cool breeze off the bay. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ian. This didn't have to get messy. Coffee tomorrow? 8 a.m., our usual place. Just you and me. The following morning, Diana arrived early at Rivali, the small coffee shop 2 blocks from ELYSIUM headquarters. She chose a table in the corner, her back to the wall, a position that allowed her to watch the entrance. Ian arrived precisely at 8, looking uncharacteristically casual in dark jeans and a grey cashmere sweater. "You look terrible," he observed, sliding into the seat across from her. "Being betrayed by your company will do that," Diana replied. Ian ordered coffee for both of them before leaning forward. "This isn't about betrayal, Diana. It's about understanding the reality of the business we're in. Luxury has never been democratic, regardless of what marketing campaigns might suggest. So you admit the system was deliberately corrupted?" "I prefer it optimized for business outcomes," Ian said, a hint of a smile playing at his lips. "The original algorithm was beautiful but naive. It would have admitted passionate art students while rejecting billionaires who couldn't distinguish Monet from Manet. That's not sustainable." "Then we should have been honest about what the system actually does," Diana countered. "Instead, we lied to the public." Ian's expression hardened. "The public wants to believe in meritocracy while enjoying exclusivity. We gave them both. At the expense of people publicly humiliated by an algorithm they were told would recognize their passion and knowledge." Their coffee arrived, creating a momentary pause. Diana noticed Ian's hands were perfectly steady as he added a precise amount of sugar to his cup. "Here's what happens next," he said, his voice lowered. "The board conducts its investigation. They'll find that access was modified with proper authorization through proper channels. Meanwhile, you'll be identified as the source of the leak, regardless of whether that's true. Your reputation in the industry will be damaged beyond repair." Diana felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. Unless you issue a statement supporting the company, acknowledging that the access modifications were legitimate business optimizations that you previously approved. In return, you resign with a generous severance package and a non-disparagement agreement." "You want me to lie?" Ian shrugged. "I want you to be practical. No one wins if ELYSIUM collapses under regulatory scrutiny and public outrage. Thousands of jobs, Diana. Your career. My career. All the good we could still do. What about Vincent? The ethics violation was fabricated, wasn't it?" Something flickered in Ian's eyes, the first genuine emotion Diana had seen from him in months. "Vincent made his choices. You need to make yours." After Ian left, Diana remained at the table, watching steam rise from her untouched coffee. Her phone buzzed with a message from Oliver. "Need to talk. I have new information about Vincent Mercer. Meeting him tomorrow. Want to join?" That night, Diana barely slept, weighing her options. By morning, she had made her decision. She met Oliver at a quiet restaurant in the Mission District, away from the financial center where ELYSIUM employees might recognize her. "Vincent Mercer reached out to me," Oliver explained after they ordered. "He's been following the Access story and is willing to go on record about what happened when he tried to raise ethical concerns." "Where is he?" Diana asked. "Seattle. He had to relocate after ELYSIUM's legal team made it impossible for him to find work in the Bay Area." Oliver studied her face. "He says you weren't involved in the modifications, that you're being set up to take the fall." Diana felt a complex mix of vindication and despair. "Ian offered me a deal this morning. Say I approve the changes, sign an NDA, and walk away with my reputation mostly intact. And if you don't, they'll destroy my career." Diana looked out the window at pedestrians passing by, living their normal lives. "But I can't lie about this. The system was explicitly marketed as recognizing passion and knowledge over wealth and status. Instead, it does the opposite while pretending not to. Oliver nodded. There's more. Vincent has evidence that the access modifications were specifically designed to create occasional public rejections of qualified but undesirable candidates. Those humiliations weren't glitches, they were features designed to reinforce exclusivity through public spectacle. Diana felt physically ill. That's monstrous. That's marketing, according to the internal memos Vincent saved. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of activity. Diana met with Vincent via secure video call, reviewing his evidence. Together with Oliver and Lucia, they compiled a comprehensive report documenting how Access had been corrupted from its original purpose. Rather than leaking the information piecemeal, they prepared a complete disclosure package with technical details and ethical analysis. The night before they planned to release the report, Diana received an unexpected visitor. Her apartment security system announced, "Dominic Park is requesting entry." Diana hesitated, then authorized access. Dominic entered looking haggard, the usually impeccable CTO now rumpled and tense. "The board knows what you're planning," he said without preamble. "They're preparing to discredit you completely, psychological instability, professional jealousy, personal vendetta against Ian. They have edited recordings of your conversations." Diana's stomach dropped. "Why are you telling me this?" Dominic ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "Because I helped build the technical framework for Access, but I didn't sign up for what it became. The public humiliations, the secret demographic weighting, it's gone too far. You approved the modifications. I was told they were minor optimizations, approved by you and the board." His eyes met hers directly. "By the time I understood what was happening, I was already implicated. I've been trying to protect my team." Diana studied him, searching for deception. "What do you want?" "To do the right thing, finally." He placed a small drive on her coffee table. The original authorization chain for all Access modifications. Emails between Ian and certain board members discussing how to bypass ethical reviews. And recordings of the planning sessions for what they called strategic public rejections, the humiliations that were supposed to enhance the brand's exclusivity. "Why now?" Diana asked. Dominic's expression was bleak. "Because yesterday, a 19-year-old girl who was publicly rejected by Access attempted suicide. Her note mentioned the humiliation of being deemed culturally irrelevant in front of her friends. She's in critical condition." The revelation hit Diana like a physical blow. This was no longer about corporate ethics or her career, a young woman's life hung in the balance because of technology Diana had helped create. "I need to verify this information," she said. "Of course." Dominic moved toward the door. "For what it's worth, I believe you created Access with genuine good intentions. The rest of us are the ones who failed." After he left, Diana spent the night verifying the new evidence, finding it devastatingly legitimate. By morning, she had incorporated it into their disclosure package and made her final decision. At 9 a.m., Diana walked into ELYSIUM headquarters unannounced. Security, unsure how to handle her suspension status, allowed her to proceed to the executive floor. She found Ian in his office, on a call that he quickly ended when she entered. "Bold move," he said, leaning back in his chair. "I assume you've made your decision about our arrangement." Diana placed a tablet on his desk. "Yes. I'm releasing a comprehensive report on Access today, the original design, the unauthorized modifications, the intentional public humiliations, and the suicide attempt yesterday. Everything." Ian's composed facade cracked slightly. "You're bluffing." "I'm really not." Diana held his gaze. "But I'm giving you one chance to get ahead of this. Call an emergency board meeting right now. Announce a complete suspension of Access pending a transparent third-party review. Commit to compensating individuals who were publicly humiliated. And most importantly, tell the truth. You'll destroy everything we've built," Ian said, his voice dangerously quiet. "No, you did that when you perverted a system designed to recognize passion and knowledge into a tool for public humiliation and reinforced bias." Ian studied her for a long moment. "You were always an idealist, Diana. I respected that about you, even when it was inconvenient. He picked up his phone. Eleanor, we need an emergency board meeting. Now. The next hours were a blur of tense meetings, legal consultations, and crisis management. By evening, ELYSIUM had issued a public statement acknowledging significant concerns with the access system and announcing its immediate suspension pending a comprehensive review. The company's stock plummeted further, but the transparent approach prevented the complete implosion that might have followed Diana's report. 3 months later, Diana stood on the rooftop garden of a repurposed warehouse in Oakland, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The space around her hummed with conversation as people gathered for the launch of her new venture, Commons, a technology ethics consultancy specializing in algorithmic accountability. Oliver approached, drink in hand. Impressive turnout. Half the tech industry seems to be here. Diana smiled. People are finally realizing that ethical AI isn't just morally necessary, it's good business. The ELYSIUM debacle proved that. Speaking of which, how's the lawsuit going? Settled yesterday. The company admitted fault, agreed to compensation for everyone negatively impacted by access, and committed to transparent AI development going forward. Diana sipped her sparkling water. Ian resigned. And the girl who attempted suicide. Recovering. She's actually working with our youth advisory board now, helping develop ethical guidelines for AI systems that impact young people. Across the rooftop, Diana spotted a familiar figure. Vincent Mercer stood somewhat awkwardly by the edge, looking both out of place and relieved to be there. She excused herself from Oliver and made her way over. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. Vincent offered a small smile. I almost didn't. Still not comfortable in crowds after everything. I understand. But I wanted you to see this. Diana gestured to the gathering. Your work wasn't in vain. The original access algorithm, the real one, is being repurposed for educational access now. Helping identify passion and aptitude in students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Technology reflecting our better angels, not our worst impulses, Vincent mused. That was always the dream. As night fell over the city, Diana found herself alone for a moment at the edge of the rooftop. The lights of San Francisco glittered across the bay, beautiful, complex, imperfect. In her hand, she held a small printed invitation to the reopening of ELYSIUM under new management, with a handwritten note from the new CEO, "We're building it right this time. No AIS deciding who deserves beauty." Diana slipped the invitation into her pocket and turned back toward the warm lights and conversation of her new beginning. The technology they created would always reflect who they were, their values, their biases, their aspirations. The question was not whether AI should make decisions about access and opportunity, but who should guide those systems and toward what end. In the soft evening air, surrounded by people committed to building more ethical technologies, Diana finally felt the weight of the past year lifting. The luxury of integrity, she had discovered, was the one thing no algorithm could ever truly measure.